This is how to get better at building stat. Whether you are new to building and somewhat a beginner or advanced, this video has everything you need. It just occurred to me that I have never made a total beginner's guide, so I'm here to help you guys out. Of course though, my core audience is somewhat advanced, so I got some tips in there for you guys too. But even so, these early tips you should still pay attention to no matter your skill level, because when was the last time you got a refresher on your pure fundamentals? Exactly, let's get into this. And if you don't know me, my name is Reid the Ninja, and I make tips and trick videos to help you get better. So if that interests you, drop a like and invest into the channel. Tip 1 though is to learn the core 3 builds and forget about the cone. What you need to understand about Fortnite is builds are on a grid, so they snap onto certain tiles instead of just being able to place them anywhere you want. The building grid has 3 places you can build. The side of a tile, which is for wall placement, the bottom and tops of a tile, which is for floor placement, and the inside of a tile, which is for stair and cone placement. You want to forget all about the cone because major situations you'll be dealing with early in your building career can be done with the 3 main pieces, since there are only 3 places to build on the grid. And it just so happens the ramp and the cone occupy the same grid space. You can still make a fully protected box with a ramp inside with just 3 pieces, as well as push up to high ground or build down to low ground. So before you get too into learning these builds, make sure you're not creating bad muscle memory and bad habits. Your build keybinds and or controller settings should be comfortable to use. On controller, I recommend using Builder Pro settings with a few tweaks that I'll talk about later. And on keyboard and mouse, I recommend using 2 or 3 build binds on your side mouse buttons if you have them. The other 1 or 2 builds should go somewhere easy to reach on your keyboard like Shift, C, or V. And the thing I'll stress early is you want to have your fingers be on the movement keys as much as possible. And of course on console, you want your thumbs to be on the 2 sticks as much as possible so you can aim and move. So when creating your keybinds, try to make ones that don't involve lifting these movement fingers up. For example, on keyboard and mouse, your extra build bind or 2 build binds should be on your thumb or pinky. If you want to know exactly what build binds I use, I actually just made a video on that, so you can click that right here or watch it after this video. Okay, so now you know what build to use and how to use them, so let's get into our first build technique you should know, the ramp rush. This is a simple one to start with that has some progression to it as you improve that you can build up to. For true beginners, you want to start with a ramp and then place a wall behind that ramp. Then switch back to your ramp and then back to your wall, and just keep this up. This creates a protected ramp rush so that if you're approaching an enemy on the floor, they'll have a harder time shooting your stairs out. This is obviously since they have to shoot through that wall and then that stair. Of course though, if the enemy has good positioning, they can shoot underneath the wall, totally avoiding it, and they'll still only need to shoot the stair out for your builds to break out from underneath you. But that's where the progression comes into this. You can add a floor underneath like this. And it also doesn't matter which order you do this in. Obviously you cannot start with the wall since it has nothing to connect to, but you can either start with the stair or the floor first, and then either of the build pieces next. I personally like to do floor, wall, stair because my build binds for all 3 of these pieces are on my mouse. That means I can move my thumb in a counterclock motion and hit all of these. But that's of course just me. Some people prefer doing step 1 with the stair and then the wall, and then just adding the floor beneath. And others like to do the stair, then the floor, and then the wall. It's just preference. But having these 3 pieces down makes it so regardless of the angle that the enemy is at when you ramp rush at them, they'll have to shoot through 2 pieces no matter what to knock you out. But of course, the next question is, what if you want to turn while ramping up? You can't just place a ramp to the side without it connecting to anything, and you want to continue your momentum upwards, so you don't want to connect to the floor beneath. So that's where 90s come in. 90s refer to a 90-degree turn in Fortnite. We'll practice on the ground first and then add it to our ramp rush. But to do this, you want to place a wall in front of you, a wall to your side, and then jump while placing a ramp facing that second wall so you land on top of it. You can now continue this motion again. Wall, wall, jump, stair. From here, you can continue your 90s as many times as you want, and this is one of the quickest ways to gain elevation in Fortnite. But now let's add it to the ramp rush. Of course, you need to ramp up, then to turn, wall, wall, jump, stair. And from here, you can of course keep 90ing or continue your ramp rush after turning. So the ramp rush and 90 combination is perfect if enemies are on a lower layer than you, but of course enemies aren't always conveniently in front of you and below you. So this is what to do if they're above and behind you or above and in front of you. Let's start with above and behind you. This situation often arises if you are boxed up and the enemy is right on top of your box, or if they're a couple layers up. For this move to work, you'll need a wall already placed down behind you. Of course, if you're in a box, that wall is already there, or if you're just on the ground, you can place a stair behind you by looking down and placing it. From here, move your crosshair up and down to place a ramp below you to run on, and then above you to block any shots from the enemy. Super simple move and very protective. But what if they move and are now above and in front of you? That protective ramp won't do anything to block someone's shot since they'll have a direct line of sight onto you, ramping straight up to them. This is where you need to add the floor piece into the mix. But instead of using it as a floor, use it as a roof above your head. This will block any shots the enemy will try to land on you. Of course, keep holding it until they're done shooting, and then when they stop to reload, edit that floor in half and continue up until you need to cover yourself again. And at this point in the video, this move is the first one where I've touched on the editing aspect of Fortnite, so let me show you how you should be editing and what it is. Editing in Fortnite is changing the shape of a build that you place down. And let me reiterate, you cannot edit someone else's builds. Just need to make sure all the beginners out there know that. You also need to know that your edit key is just as important as the rest of your build keybinds. So make it something easy to reach where you don't have to take a finger off of your aiming or movement. On keyboard and mouse, you of course could put it on your mouse, or again, use a pinky or thumb key on your keyboard. Because again, your ring, index, and middle should be on WASD for movement. I used to have E as my edit bind and I'd hit it with my pointer finger, but I soon realized that while editing, I couldn't move right, so I had to switch it. And on controller when I played, I used to use circle to edit, or of course B on Xbox, but that meant I had to take my right thumb off the stick. So I then changed that to use either L3 or R3 to edit. I forget which one it is, but that just means pushing in the actual stick so you don't have to take your thumb off of it. On the flip side, if you're on controller and you have paddles on the back, use one of these instead. And for clarification, editing requires 2 to 3 motions depending on what your settings are. You can either begin your edit with a button, then select your tiles you want to edit with a button, and then confirm that edit with a button, or you can get rid of that last step and have the edit confirm when you release the second button. This is what I prefer since you don't have to touch so many things, and I do recommend this to beginners. But to make sure you only have to do 2 as opposed to the 3, go to your settings to confirm this, scroll over to the gear icon, and select auto confirm edits and change that to both or to edit. Now you can edit with only 2 buttons instead of 3. Of course, if you want to reset that wall back to normal, you can enter your edit menu again, click your reset button, and then confirm it with a button, or just release depending on what you set that edit to. If you set it to both, it will confirm on the release, or if you selected it to just edit, you will have to do another button to confirm the reset, but not the regular edit. I know it's kind of confusing, so maybe just set it to both. But there you go, now you've learned how to edit and you can practice editing. There are of course different variations of edits for each of the 4 building pieces, so try and learn them. For example, you can edit a wall's top 3 tiles, bottom 3 tiles, bottom 4 tiles, but not top 4 tiles. It needs some getting used to, but there are some limitations you should practice with. With that being said, some edits are better than others, and I want to show you that right now. And if you are enjoying so far, please drop a like and invest in the channel if I've helped. And I know a lot of new people to the game, even to the build mode, often buy a skin or the battle pass relatively soon, so if you're thinking about it, I'm just saying, if I've helped you, please help me too. Go to the item shop, click here, and then type in Reid the Ninja. That's E before I, and it'll give me a little kickback of the purchase so I can keep making these videos. With that being said though, back to the video. Since Fortnite is a third-person camera angle game, meaning the point of view you see is from over your right shoulder, not through your eyes, some edits will be better than others. This makes right-handed angles the best to shoot people from. So in any right-hand circumstance, you can hide your full body, but have full view of the enemy. This means you should try to edit walls to give you this right-hand advantage. I like doing this corner edit because the camera gives you a good view of what's behind the wall while you stay protected. From here, you can jump and shoot. And this is pretty safe because of how little time your head will be exposed for. Another good one is doing the window edit on the right or in the middle of the wall. You can hide your body behind the remaining wall and shoot through said window. Although you don't want to do a left window because you have to walk your full body all the way to the side and your camera still won't be able to see much from this point of view. And keep in mind, your whole body will be exposed. So if you're new or just trying to get better at editing and building, use these 2 peaks. Of course, now that I've showed you some common building and editing techniques, let me tell you about some common pitfalls and mistakes I see a lot of beginner players face. The main one is this, the high ground pitfall. And I don't mean literally falling, although of course that is an outcome. I mean this, too many players learn how to build up to high ground and then that's all they care about. I've obviously showed you how to do 90s and do these protected ramp rushes, but that's not the point of a fight. The point of a fight is not to get above your opponent, the point is to kill them. Yes, high ground is helpful when you have it, but it is not the end all be all. So remember, you have to shoot your opponent to win. Only build when it is beneficial to you. Another common pitfall is focusing too hard on learning cones. For those that have mastered everything in this video, then you can start learning cones. Cones are great for boxing opponents and for doing advanced strategies, but you really don't need them unless you've mastered the first 3 pieces and editing. And after you have, you can then start to work in cones. And the last thing is stop overcomplicating Fortnite. Yes, there are people in the game that can build fight way high into the sky, but honestly, just staying level in a couple boxes and doing safe peeks is the right way to get high kill games and stay alive. That's what this video is about right here, and I highly recommend to watch next for anybody that this video actually helped and or is new to building. Send this to your girlfriend or just bot friend who doesn't know how to play the game, and again, it would really help me out for the kickback if you use code reidtheninja when buying something. And on that note, I am signing off.